That when he left his home address, he had an intention to kill, but to kill anybody. Not necessarily Bobbi, not necessarily a woman, but somebody that he thought he could get away with. The brutality and the prolonged nature of that attack upon a lone 18-year-old young woman who was just over 5 foot, who was significantly under 7 stone, defies belief.
On a serene evening near Bobbi Anne Beach on November 23, 2022, a couple was leisurely strolling through the nearby woods, immersed in the romantic ambience. The tranquil scene, accentuated by the gentle rustling of leaves in the ocean breeze, seemed like a perfect escape. However, the idyllic moment was abruptly shattered when they stumbled upon a woman lying unclothed on a patch of grass nearby. As they cautiously approached, they recognized her as Bobbi Anne, the woman whose mysterious disappearance had cast a shadow over the community. Questions swirled in the air. Was Bobbi Anne still alive? And what circumstances led her to this secluded spot? The discovery turned their tranquil walk into a moment of profound shock and uncertainty. Bobbi Anne, alongside her family, parents Donna and Adrian and brother Lee, resided in the charming coastal town of Plymouth. Nestled in the southwest of England, Plymouth is renowned for its vibrant history and maritime legacy spanning centuries. The town is celebrated for its picturesque waterfront and dynamic city centre, attracting a blend of tourists and locals. On the evening of November 20th, 2021, around 5:45 p.m., Bobbi Anne departed from her residence in the quaint neighbourhood of Liam, making her way to the nearby bus stop on Sheepstore Ard. With a heart full of affection, she bid her father farewell, expressing her love and sharing her plans to venture downtown. She was eager to meet her boyfriend and their close friends. The journey to the bus stop was a familiar one for Bobbi Anne, a path she had traversed countless times. However, concern began to cloud the evening as time ticked by. An hour and a half after Bobbi Anne's departure, her mother, Donna, reached out via text, inquiring about her well-being and whether she had safely arrived at her destination. The silence that followed was unsettling. Increasingly anxious, Donna attempted to call her daughter, only to be greeted by the unyielding silence of an unanswered phone. The situation grew more distressing when, after another hour, Bobbi Anne's boyfriend contacted her parents. His voice carried a mix of worry and confusion. Bobbi Anne had not arrived for their planned rendezvous, and his attempts to reach her by phone had all been in vain. Realization dawned on Donna and Adrian as they contacted Bobbi Anne's circle of friends, only to discover that her whereabouts remained a mystery to all. Gripped by the fear that their daughter might be in peril, they hastened to the police, a heavy sense of urgency propelling them as they reported Bobbi Anne missing. As the clock struck past 9 p.m. on November 21st, an extensive search operation unfolded across the city. Spearheaded by the police, McLeod's family, and a dedicated team of volunteers delved into the task with urgency. The city was soon awash with leaflets, each bearing the likeness of Bobbi Anne as her image was shared far and wide. The plea for her safe return reverberated through social media and local news, with her brother Lee McLeod leading a heartfelt appeal on his social media platform. "I implore everyone in Plymouth, please join the search. Keep your eyes and ears open. If you know something, see something, don't hesitate to reach out." The initial breakthrough in the case came when police verified that Bobbi Anne had not boarded any bus to downtown as planned. A significant lead emerged from a local resident who reported seeing Bobbi Anne at the bus stop the previous evening. This crucial detail corroborated her presence there, yet raised the baffling question of why she didn't board her bus. The mystery deepened when investigators discovered Bobbi Anne's wireless headphones abandoned in a walkway behind the bus stop, signaling her presence but also hinting at an abrupt departure. The area around the bus stop swiftly became the focal point of the investigation. Police officers meticulously combed through the vicinity, scrutinizing every inch for potential clues. Their probe extended from the walkway behind the bus stop to the route Bobbi Anne would have taken from her home and throughout the neighboring streets. Confronted with the unsettling facts, the unboarded bus, the discarded headphones and undisclosed leads, the authorities couldn't dismiss the grim possibility of abduction. The police issued a public appeal, urging anyone with pertinent information to step forward. The urgency of the situation galvanized a substantial deployment of officers, all committed to a singular goal: uncovering the truth and ensuring the safe return of Bobbi Anne. Investigators tirelessly worked to pinpoint the location of Bobbi Anne's cell phone, only managing to narrow its presence within the city limits without an exact location. Despite repeated calls, her phone consistently redirected to voicemail. In a twist of fate, the phone, along with an AirPods case, was recovered and handed over to the authorities. The items were discovered at the bus stop from which Bobbi Anne had vanished by a local resident around 7:15 p.m. the previous evening. Upon the arrival of a bus at 7:23 p.m., the resident entrusted the items to the bus driver, hoping for a reunion with their rightful owner. The next day, upon recognizing the unfolding tragedy linked to the bus stop, the conscientious driver promptly delivered the phone and AirPods case to the police. As the search intensified on November 22nd, police, family and volunteers combed through fields, woodlands and roads in the vicinity of Bobbi Anne's home, yet no further clues surfaced. The following evening, a devastating discovery was made at Bobbi Anne Beach, roughly 8 miles from the bus stop. In a secluded woodland area, a mere half-mile from the shore, the body of a woman was found. Heartbreakingly, the McLeod family's worst fears materialized during the identification process. The body was confirmed to be that of Bobbi Anne. The community was left reeling from the tragedy. A vigil was organized near the bus stop where Bobbi Anne was last seen, drawing a multitude of mourners. Donna McLeod, grappling with immense sorrow, addressed the crowd. Through tears and a voice laden with emotion, she expressed her gratitude for the outpouring of support and solidarity. She implored everyone to raise their candles in a poignant tribute to Bobbi Anne, marking a moment of collective grief and remembrance. Lee McLeod, amidst his profound grief, shared an endearing childhood photo of him and Bobbi Anne, clad in their primary school uniforms. His tribute to his cherished sister was both touching and heart-wrenching. He vowed to hold on to the memories of their shared adventures and implored her to rest peacefully, emphasizing her undeserved fate and the void her absence had created. In the aftermath, the police disclosed that Bobbi Anne's body was found without clothing. However, a thorough examination by the medical examiner found no evidence of sexual assault, although she bore severe injuries with 14 lacerations on her head and face. The lingering question of how much longer the search for Bobbi Anne might have continued remains unanswered, had it not been for a pivotal discovery that led to this tragic conclusion. On the fateful day of November 23rd, as the sun reached its zenith, a pivotal moment unfolded at the downtown police station. At precisely 1:17 p.m., a man entered the premises, his demeanor heavy with intent. He approached the officers with a request to speak to a detective, claiming he possessed crucial information about the disappearance of Bobbi Anne and expressed a desire to aid the police and her grieving family. A detective promptly attended to him, only to be met with a chilling confession. The man admitted to the abduction and tragic demise of Bobbi Anne, providing details of the heinous act and pinpointing the location of her body on a map. Officers, clinging to a sliver of hope for Bobbi Anne's survival, rushed to the site. Their hopes were shattered upon discovering her body in the dense underbrush, a stark confirmation of the grim reality. The confessor was identified as 24-year-old Cody Ackland, a man whose life seemed unremarkable on the surface. Raised by his mother after his parents' divorce and residing merely miles from the bus stop where Bobbi Anne was last seen, Ackland was the unsuspecting son of an ex-military father. His arrest was swift, and through his lawyer, he issued a stark admission of guilt regarding Bobbi Anne's death. He asserted that their paths had tragically crossed for the first time on that ill-fated evening, confirming his role in her abduction. In the wake of his arrest, authorities seized Ackland's belongings, including his car, phone, computer, and various other items. To the community, Ackland was known as a respectable individual, a musician who wielded his guitar for the local indie rock band Rakuta. But behind this facade lurked a disturbing fascination with serial killers, with the likes of Joseph D'Angelo Jr., Andre Chikatilo, Ivan Milat, Fred West, and Tommy Sells adorning his macabre pantheon of idols. Ted Bundy stood at the pinnacle of Ackland's twisted admiration. Investigations into Ackland's phone revealed a trove of 3,216 images, many echoing the grim aesthetics of horror films. His digital footprint painted a sinister picture. In the days leading to Bobbi Anne's tragic end, Ackland immersed himself in the dark world of serial killers, researching remote locations on Dartmoor and potential weapons. His online activities on the day of Bobbi Anne's disappearance were equally ominous, browsing an online sports store for baseball bats, ski masks, and waterproof clothing. Despite his secret and morbid obsessions, Ackland had never caught the attention of the law. He had skillfully navigated below the radar. Yet, in a dreadful turn of events, his concealed impulses culminated in a heinous act. Bobbi Anne, a life filled with promise and dreams, became an inadvertent victim, a tragic casualty of Ackland's descent into a horrifying reality. That dreadful evening unfolded with sinister precision. Bobbi Anne, unsuspecting, arrived at the bus stop around 6:15 p.m. Her presence caught the eye of Cody Ackland, who was prowling the area in his Ford Fiesta. He later confided to detectives that Bobbi Anne bore a resemblance to his ex-girlfriend, but chillingly clarified that this was not his motive. Ackland was on a dark mission, intent on executing long-held violent plans. Acknowledging that Bobbi Anne's fate was a tragic circumstance of being in the wrong place at the wrong time, Ackland made his move. He parked discreetly behind the bus stop, and after ensuring they were alone, approached Bobbi Anne with a hammer he had previously purchased. With 2 swift strikes to her head, he believed his gruesome act was complete. However, as he attempted to leave, the sight of Bobbi Anne struggling to rise forced him to return. He then transported her semi-conscious body to his car and drove her to the secluded Bellever Forest parking lot in Dartmoor. At 7:45 p.m., amidst the forest's eerie silence, Ackland realized Bobbi Anne was still clinging to life. His response to her fear was a chilling confession of his own fear, admitting his inexperience in such horrific acts. Ackland brutally struck Bobbi Anne 12 more times, attempting to erase any evidence of his crime. He callously marveled at her resilience before deciding to end her life. After concealing her body in Bovis, stripping it of clothing and personal items, Ackland coldly returned home as if nothing had happened. Ackland's heinous acts continued with the disposal of the hammer in the River Tamar and her blood-stained clothing in nearby allotments, actions that marked his attempt to erase the crime. Yet, his demeanor in the following days was disturbingly normal. He mingled with friends, attended band rehearsals, and even enjoyed a movie, all while the community frantically searched for Bobbi Anne. It was only after these chillingly ordinary days that Ackland's conscience, or perhaps fear of the encroaching investigation, led him to the police station. After sending heartfelt messages to his bandmates and his mother, he walked into the station and confessed to the unfathomable crime he had committed, ending the agonizing search for Bobbi Anne and revealing the monstrous reality behind his calm facade.
Cody Ackland had no previous history with Devon and Cornwall Police or was not on the police national computer. He had a secret obsession of the macabre and of a morbid nature. And no matter what work, he had never come to any agency in his life around this secret obsession. So it is a truly rare event that has occurred, again a tragic one, and unfortunately the loss of Bobbi Anne's life.
Detective Mike West, the lead investigator, disclosed that Cody Ackland remained elusive regarding his motives, sidestepping questions about the rationale behind Bobbi Anne's tragic demise. Nonetheless, Detective West did not dismiss the possibility that Ackland might eventually reveal more insights into his motivations, especially considering the reflective shift he reported to a psychiatrist. Ackland confessed that the act of murder had, in a twisted sense, alleviated his prior feelings of depression and resentment. The courtroom was gripped by tension as the trial commenced in May 2022. Ackland's attorney, Ray Tully, presented a complex picture of his client's mental state. While a psychiatrist confirmed that Ackland did not suffer from a definable mental illness, it was evident that his formative years were marred by challenges. Diagnosed with ADHD, dyslexia, depression, and anxiety, Ackland's teenage years were shadowed by a 7-year stretch of depression. Tully painted a picture of a troubled individual, lacking solace and support from his home environment and male role models, including his father. During sentencing, Judge Robert Linford's words resonated with the weight of justice and sorrow. He addressed Ackland with a stern condemnation of his actions, labeling the murder as determined savagery. Judge Linford underscored the heinous nature of the crime, acknowledging the bright future that was so cruelly stolen from Bobbi Anne. He emphasized that Ackland's actions were not only premeditated, but executed with chilling precision. Ultimately, the court imposed a life sentence on Cody Ackland, now 24 years old, with a stipulation that he must serve at least 31 years before being eligible for parole. The sentence reflected the gravity of his crime, ensuring that justice, in some measure, was served for the irrevocable loss of Bobbi Anne's life.